Michael Popok, Legal AF. You know who doesn't know New York law and procedure? Emile Bove, Donald Trump's lawyers. Second time the charm? I'm not sure about that. What am I talking about? A notice of removal where Donald Trump at the last minute to try to stop his sentencing for the 34-count felony convictions scheduled for the 18th of September in front of Judge Juan Merchan. He tried to file a notice of removal, a special device with special powers under federal court procedure. If you file it properly, then automatically the jurisdiction of the state court gets divested, gets extinguished, at least for a temporary period of time, until the federal judge takes a look at your papers and then decides whether to keep the case in federal court, even your criminal matter, or remands it, sends it back to state court. That's the power of a notice of removal properly filed. Unfortunately for Donald Trump, as I reported on Legal AF last week, they didn't properly file it. In fact, they ignored the federal rules of civil procedure and criminal procedure, which govern in this area, which say in particular that when you are filing a notice of removal, a request to a federal judge that the case pretty please be transferred from state court to federal court, and you're in a criminal trial, and the criminal trial has already happened, and your arraignment has already happened, such as here, where you are post-conviction and pre-sentencing, you gotta ask the federal judge for leave. You gotta ask his permission before you file the notice of removal. Otherwise, it's ineffective. So it got bounced by Judge Hellerstein, federal judge, and the clerk of the court last week. You didn't ask, please. You didn't file your notice of removal with a motion for leave, for permission to file your notice of removal. Well, we've now got, as I predicted, we've got the motion. Finally, the request where they don't apologize at all for having screwed up the procedure. They don't acknowledge that they have any proper grounds for it. They just turn it into a motion for leave to file a second removal notice. Why is it the second notice of removal? Remember at the top of the hot take here, I said the Trump's lawyers don't know New York law and don't know New York practice. I do. I've been practicing there for 32 years, but they don't. Especially in this area. And so they didn't follow the rules. And they tried to file this same thing last summer, a first notice of removal. Now that one was temporarily effective. It divested Judge Merchan of his jurisdiction for a short amount of time. It let Judge Hellerstein conduct a full evidentiary hearing. Donald Trump was able to put on witnesses, including his general counsel and other witnesses. The Manhattan DA was able to put on some witnesses about the Stormy Daniels hush money cover-up affair. It was like a mini trial. We were on the edge of our seats. It was the trial before the trial. And the same impact, same effect. Judge Hellerstein last July denied that notice of removal and bounced it and kicked it back to Judge Merchan. All along telling Judge Merchan, you do you. You continue to keep your case moving along. We have concurrent overlapping jurisdiction. This was last summer. So now Donald Trump said, why don't I file another notice of removal? And this time he ignored the rules. The rules required permission, a permission slip from the federal judge if you're going to do it after a conviction. If you want to do it at the top of your case, like you did last summer, after arraignment and before trial, sure, you don't have to ask for permission. And the reason you have to ask for permission is what I said at the top of the hot take. There's such a power, a unique power to a notice of removal where you can unilaterally cut off the jurisdiction of a state court judge by just filing a piece of paper. That's an amazing superpower that they give to litigants, to parties, but it has to be used wisely. It has to be used appropriately. It has to be used responsibly. And of course, Donald Trump's lawyers didn't do any of that. They completely ignored the rules and filed a whole raft of papers, all sorts of affidavits and declarations and aspects of the record and motion practice and things like trying to compile a record of documents and information from the Judge Merchan case. Oh, we don't like Judge Merchan. His daughter works for a living. She works in Democratic politics, okay? We don't like some of his rulings. We don't like his jury instructions. We don't. By the way, as I said earlier, all of those issues, they are sort of appropriate, but only on appeal. Appeal from a state court judge to a state court judge. You appeal a state court judge to an appellate court in the state. You don't appeal it to Judge Hellerstein, the federal judge across the street in federal court. Again, basic procedure in law that appears to be immune to the charms are immune to Emile Bove, because they don't really care. They don't really care if they get it right. They just want to get it out the door. They just want to pull the brake on the train and try to derail it and derail the sentencing of Donald Trump. That's all this is. So as a kid, I loved eating cereal. But as an adult, I don't want all that sugar, and most cereals don't give me the protein I need. Then I found Magic Spoon, a nostalgically delicious cereal that tastes just like my childhood favorites, but without the sugar and with a ton of protein. And if you're already a Magic Spoon fan, I got big news. Magic Spoon has turned their super popular cereal into high-protein treats that are light, crispy, and taste just like those classic crunchy cereal bars. Magic Spoon's brand new treats are so delicious, they've already become my favorite before and after gym snack. Every serving of Magic Spoon cereal has 13 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, and 4 grams of net carbs, so you can feel good about what you're eating. The most popular flavors are fruity and cocoa, and there's so many more. Magic Spoon's brand new treats are crispy, crunchy, airy, and an easy way to get 11 grams of protein on the go. And for the first time ever, Magic Spoon treats are available in grocery stores with delicious flavors like marshmallow and chocolatey peanut butter. My favorite is Magic Spoon's chocolatey peanut butter treats. And by the way, they're my wife's favorite too. They're our favorite late night snack. Get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/legalaf or look for Magic Spoon in your nearest grocery store. That's magicspoon.com/legalaf for $5 off. Magic Spoon, hold on to the dream. So they basically just phoned it in. This is a 2-page memorandum of law, a memo of law. I've never written a 2-page memo of law. I'm sure my memos of law average 30 to 40 pages, as they should. And it's just like, yeah, you know all that stuff we filed last week you didn't like? Yeah, we're going to file it again. But now you told us to ask for your permission. By the way, Judge Hellerstein didn't create a new rule or a new burden on Emile Bove and Donald Trump. This is in the rules. This is what the federal rules require when you're post-conviction and pre-sentencing in a criminal case. You got to ask the federal judge for permission. And you should also check in with the Manhattan DA and ask if they have a consent. The Judge Hellerstein, when he kicked it last week, said, check in with the DA. They didn't do that. I don't see anywhere in here where they've checked in with the DA. They're asking for permission. Now, it's going to be denied. Let me cut to the chase. Judge Hellerstein is going to deny this. And so for at no nanoseconds was Judge Merchan divested of his jurisdiction. While he sees what's going on, he's got eyes and ears, he's got law clerks, he knows what's happening in the world, he knows they ran into court. If you didn't know, the Manhattan DA just filed a piece of paper with Judge Merchan telling him, hey, they're trying to divest you of jurisdiction with a wrongfully filed, irregular, rogue filing. So Merchan is up to speed. Judge Hellerstein now has the motion. He could ask for the DA's position paper to be filed. If so, we'll report on it. But frankly, just on the papers of this motion, without showing any good cause, which is the requirement, there is no good cause, which is a legal term, a term of art that has to be supporting your motion in this type of removal. Some might be asking, who are kind of late to this game, what is the grounds for dragging this case over to federal court before a sentencing? None. But if you're going to make the grounds, you got to lay them out in your papers. And all they complained about, whined about, it's the whining that just chaps my backside and just wears me out, just wears me thin, is all the things that Judge Merchan did wrong. All the evidence he let in, and the immunity decision he didn't apply properly, the United States Supreme Court, which, by the way, he hasn't even ruled on. You might be thinking you missed something. We're waiting. September 16th, the Judge Merchan is going to rule in state court on the immunity decision and how it impacted, if at all, any aspect of the jury trial that led to Donald Trump's conviction. That's my point. These are all appeal issues. These aren't grounds to drag your case to federal court. The only way you can do it in Donald Trump's context is to prove to the court that you were a federal officer at least at the time when these acts took place, these crimes took place, and that all of the acts that are in the allegations are what you did under the color of your office. Your official, your job duties, your scope of work, your job responsibilities, your resume. You know, like when you get a new job, they tell you, here's your job responsibilities. Donald Trump thinks covering up and interfering with an election, a private sexual act that he had with Stormy Daniels so that the world wouldn't find out about it in October and November just before the 2016 election is somehow part of his presidential duties after the interference is successful and he gets elected. You see why this is going to be a loser? That's not federal officer, federal color of law at all. And there's nothing in Emile Beauvais' submissions from last week now being recycled here that are going to change Judge Hellerstein's mind. You know, I know people have come to expect on Legal AF, and I think and when I give my analysis and opinions, that I'm going to take a position. It's opinion. It's analysis. It's based on years of working in these courts and courthouses. But I put it on the line. I'm going to tell you what I think and how I think it's going to come out. And it's not that we're never wrong. It's just that we're almost never wrong because we're following these things so closely and we have good instincts and judgment in this area. We bring it to you right here on the MeidasTouch Network. You know now what I think is going to happen. You know now what they have filed and what the next steps could be by listening to this particular hot take. You like this kind of analysis, this kind of back and forth? Tune into Legal AF. There it is. We sit at the intersection of law and politics so you don't have to. Every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. Help us get to, wait for it, 4 million free subscribers. It's a crazy number, but that's where we're coming. That's what we're coming up to. 4 million free subscribers. And you can do it by supporting Legal AF. If you like our content, Wednesdays, Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Find out what 20 million people a month already know, that Legal AF is the place to go for sitting at the intersection of law and politics and learning in a way that corporate media is never going to teach you. So, and if you like audio podcast platforms, there's our album cover. Look for it, Legal AF, plug it in, and you'll find us there. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.